this world between light and darkness. An infinite way of possibilities has come. This is the time for a new experience. Come join us if you have the bravery to proudly face your fears on this area and give free rein to the present moment. Take a deep breath and let's begin.
Okay guys, before we get started, let me just tell you up front, this is a long video. I appreciate it if you watch it all the way to the end, but if you don't, you might want to skip around. I can kind of tell you there's we're going to be building this, completely building it. So there's a build video at first, and then there's some video of the PIDs and the rates and stuff I put on this thing, and me talking about it, and then there's some flat video at the end, and we're going to be converting my Tanq over to a 6S quad, and we're using mostly MEPS parts. We've got MEPS motors, MEPS flight controller, and MEPS ESC. Everything else we're pretty much just leaving in the drone as it was. Here's what we're working with. The camera was already in here when I was running at 4S, so I'm just leaving that camera. I really like that camera. This is a really high powered VTX, so we're just leaving that in there. It's the only place it'll fit. And the receiver was already in there, the XM Plus receiver, so we're just leaving it where it was. The camera gets powered by the VTX, and the VTX gets powered straight from the battery. That seems to be the best way to keep interference down. And it's less things that can go wrong by running, you know, when you're running through the flight controller. I've had a lot of trouble in the past. It's just best for me to run it right from the battery. And this little blue wire right here, I don't know if you can see it, but this little blue wire right here, that goes straight to the power wire on the battery, and it gives me my voltage in the camera, so I know when to land. I've already done a lot of the work. I've got the flight controller already soldered up. All I needed was 3 pads here soldered up for the buzzer, and 3 pads soldered up right over here for the receiver, and that's pretty much it. I mean, this is going to be a quick build. I don't put all that GPS and garb and mess on my drones. I don't fly very far. It's just right out here in my yard. There's just no point in it. The simpler you can keep things, the lot less you have to go wrong. The ESC, I've already got it soldered up, ready to put on. I'm just using 14 gauge wire that came with the ESC. Should be fine. It's got a little capacitor on it, and so anyway guys, this is like I say, this is the MEPS 45 amp ESC with 55 amp burst. This is the MEPS F7 mini flight controller, and the motors we're using are the MEPS SZ 2207 1750 kV motor. So let's see, the first thing we need to do is put the motors on, and as you guys can see, I use these little TPU spacers, soft mounts. This is real soft TPU, and these motors have a little lip right here, and it squishes right down in that TPU just enough, and then it seals all the way around on the flat surface, so it does a really good job. And it lets me really tighten my motors up without the screws going into the windings. So let's get the motors on. Okay guys, we got our motors on. They all got the thing in there, and they're cinched down, and I use blue Loctite. I got some blue Loctite here. I always use this very liberally, a lot of it on the motor screws, always. That's the worst thing you can have happen, is have a motor come loose and flat, twist up, and it usually ruins either the motor or the ESC. Now the next thing we're going to do is install the ESC. I've already got her done up here. So it sits on there like that. Now what I think I'm going to do is put these arm guards back on, these arm protectors right here, to help hold my wires in place so I can get a better measurement. And I got long ones and short ones, and the short ones go up front. Alright, when putting these on, you want to make sure that you get your wires flat in here and not crisscrossed. I mean, it don't really matter, because if you do and you wire it up wrong, you can always fix it in BL Heli Suite just by changing the motor direction. But it's just a lot easier, I think, and better when you don't do all that, when you don't have to do all that. That looks pretty clean there, guys. I gotta say, pretty clean indeed. Alright, the next thing I gotta do is work my buzzer down in there. My buzzer, or my lost model alarm, has to go right down in there, like so. And it needs to sit down in there. I know where to go. I've already measured all this out. Perfect. Now, bend those wires back for now. Take this blue wire and pull it up here. Need to figure out how or where we're going to run the hot wire from the cam, from the VTX. Guess I could put it right through there. I think there's going to be plenty of room under there. And I got the plastic plate under there. Oh yeah, there's no problem at all with that. Ain't nothing going to touch, nothing going to rub. Okay, now that'll lay right there like that. And that gives you an extra layer of protection. So if anything gets squished, but it shouldn't get squished, because I got plenty of room in between there. So now we've got two hot wires and one ground wire that's got to solder directly to the battery. So we need to do that now before we get other stuff in the way. We can hook power to it right quick and see if the VTX comes on. I don't think nothing can short out there the way we got it, so let's do this. Yep, I got the beeps on the ESC, the first ones, and the VTX is coming on, powering on, so we're good. Now the next thing we need to do is put our flight controller on. It has to go on backwards too, since the normally the flight controller would go this way. So what we got to do is take it and spin it halfway around, and then we'll have to fix all that in Betaflight. Everything looks pretty good now. All we got left to do is wire up the receiver and wire up the buzzer, the lost model alarm. I got it, but it needs to be soldered better than that. But I got it. Everything's in, everything's wired up. Let's plug it up and see if anything blows up. Where's the battery? Here it is. We'll just use a 4S for now. Hey, it all did what it's supposed to. Excellent. And the buzzer's working too. Alrighty. All we got left to do now is to put the feet on, put the top plate on. Alrighty guys, here it is completely built. It looks pretty darn sweet. As you guys can see, I stitched up these on the bottom with some TPU. I just took some little pieces of TPU like this, my filament, melted it in there to fill the seam up. So now they won't go anywhere, they won't move. Everything's stable. Got my GoPro mount in. So I'm gonna take some snapshots of the PID tune I put on it and my rates, and that'll be here somewhere in a minute. I put my 4S PID tune on just like I had it on before. So I put my 4S PID tune on just like I had it before because I've never run 6S and I don't know what to expect. But I put my 4S PID tune on. I took it out with a 4S battery, this one right here, and I test flew it this morning, and usually I get a minute and a half, sometimes a little over that, of flight time, and it drains my battery so quick that when I come down the battery is just screaming hot. But I flew it with this 4S and these motors, and it still had some battery sag, but nothing like it normally does. And only when you do a full punch out with it with the battery sag just for a second, when you let off the throttle, it just instantly jumped right back up to full voltage. And it drained the battery so slow that I got a whole extra minute of flight time. I got another minute and a half. I got 3 minutes total flight time on a 4S battery with this setup. And when I took the battery off, it was still just cool as it could be. No heat at all in it. So that's awesome. Now it did fly a little weak. I mean, it flew around fine. I have no trouble flying it. It kind of flies like a 4S setup would when you've run the battery down to like 14.5 volts or something. It still flies fine. It's just you got to give it like 20% more throttle to hover. I was tickled with it. So I didn't change the setup or anything. Like I say, I'm running the 4S PIDs and all on it that I normally run. I took the 4S off. I put a 6S on it, a 1500 6S LiPo, and then I flew it again. And I got 4.5 minutes of flight time, I believe, off of a 6S. And same way, it would have a little bit of sag when you would punch out real hard, but then it would jump right back up and the battery would come down cool. Oh, the motors came down cool when I ran a 4S on it. They come down just a little bit warm when I ran the 6S LiPo on it. But I am tickled to death. I'm getting way longer run times now than I was before. My batteries are coming down cooler. And when I put 6S LiPo on it, it's like, how do I describe it? Normally I run 4S setup. And when you got a really good battery, you got lots of power. But when I put the 6S on this, I'd say I had 20% more power than I have on a 4S setup with a full battery and everything's just perfect. Even with these props on it, even with these normal props on it, and these ain't 3D props, I was able to flip upside down, and when I'd punch it to go up, I mean, it'd shoot up like a rocket. Just like if I had 3D props on. So I can't imagine what's going to happen when I put real 3D props on it. 6S is way more powerful. But I can fly it around fine with 4S. I am so happy with this. I was afraid these motors was going to be too low kV, but they're just right. I'm afraid now if I'd have put higher kV motors on it, I'd have had the same sagging problem that I had before. This is awesome. Now I can get some good flight times. These motors are awesome. So I am tickled to death, guys. I mean, I am tickled to death. When you got 6S on this thing and you punch out, it goes to the moon quick. And the little MEPS 20x20 ESC and flight controller I put in here are doing awesome. I mean, it's handling great. And like I say, guys, the PID setup I didn't change it between the 4S battery and the 6S battery. It seems to work fine either way. So guys, this is my 6S Tanq built out with MEPS parts. And there will be a GoPro video footage coming soon as I can get me a darn GoPro in. MEPS, they're born for control, so get you some MEPS parts, guys, and find that control like I have. This thing is awesome. I mean, it put a smile on my face, guys. It put a smile on my face this morning flying this thing. I want to get me some more MEPS motors now and convert my aluminum quad to 6S because it does so much better. Okay, guys, it's a whole nother day, and we are out here with the Tanq. We got the Rotorat Tanq that we've got the MEPS King 45 amp ESC in it, the MEPS King F7 flight controller, the MEPS King SZ2207 1750 kV motors, and I'm running the MEPS King props. We're going to try those out. And we're going to run it on 4S first. The first flight will be 4S, and then we will switch to 6S and see how she does on 6S. I'll probably flash a little card on the screen or something, but it'll be the second flight. It'll be 6S. And then after all that is done, I'll go back in there at the table and discuss how it all went and what I think about it.
Out of the darkness, out of the fear, here comes the monster waiting in there. Heart rate is rising, some call it scared. You'll feel the chill start raising your hairs.
It's too late, you're here now. I hope that you're prepared, cause there's no getting out. You can feel the energy, dark like a cloud, electrified by panic, terror and doubt. Don't cross me or you'll learn quick the hard way that I'm not one to mess with. I got a mind and that mind's full of mean tricks. I'll plant a seed in your red where the fear will stick.
And I'll haunt your nightmares. Little did you know that I like fear. When you turn, I'll be right there. You should be afraid, you should be scared. We're all alone, you're on your own. It's you and me who's going home. Look up, cause I'm right here. Welcome to a real life nightmare. Possess all your dreams. A demon preys on the weak. You better watch out for me. Mistakes were made, you will see. You should've never crossed me, cause now you'll never stop me. Revenge was my calling. Now you're a dead man walking. And I'll haunt your nightmares. Little did you know that I like fear. When you turn, I'll be right there. You should be afraid, you should be scared. We're all alone, you're on your own. It's you and me who's going home. Look up, cause I'm right here. Welcome to a real life nightmare. afraid, you should be scared. We're all alone, you're on your own. It's you and me, who's going home? Look up, 'cause I'm right here. Welcome to a real life nightmare.
Let's go. Moving silent, feel the violence, the excitement, I know the assignment. I'm taking over, I'm sick of mediocre. I'll be the closer, I got a different motor. I got a mission to win, it's some ammunition to get it. Don't need permission to finish, got an addiction that's gripping. Got some convictions I'm living, once I'm committed, I'm in it. Got a prediction, I'm winning.
They're the pure bloods, I'm the hybrid. They hate change, so they try to push and fight it. I stay steady, yeah, I've always been defiant. Up against the beast, yeah, I'm up against a giant.
But now I'm gunning for their heads, and I will die with no regrets. This needs to come to an end, I'm seeing all red. And now the king is dead. And now the king is dead. And now the king is dead. Welcome to the new regime. We do what we want, yeah, we do anything. Took everything to extreme, 'cause we were suppressed when we had big dreams. Yeah, it's a new machine, all our energy coming from caffeine. No pain, morphine, this our world now, we the kings and queens.
They're the pure bloods, I'm the hybrid. They hate change, so they try to push and fight it. I stay steady, yeah, I've always been defiant. Up against the beast, yeah, I'm up against a giant.
But now I'm gunning for their heads, and I will die with no regrets. This needs to come to an end, I'm seeing all red. And now the king is dead. And now the king is dead. And now the king is dead.
You can't stop me, I'm a problem. I can feel my adrenaline calling. Blood pumps as my form starts evolving. Better watch out or I'll put you in a coffin. You can't stop me, I'm a problem. I can feel my adrenaline calling. Blood pumps as my form starts evolving. Better watch out or I'll put you in a coffin. You can't stop me, I'm a problem. I can feel my adrenaline.
Okay guys, so I just came in from flying the Tanq with all the MEPS King parts in it, and I guess you've seen on the, I flew a lot more battery packs than I showed showed video of, but on the last flight I broke a prop, one of the MEPS props. It just shattered it, and I bent this one pretty bad on one of these. I kind of straightened it back out, so you can straighten them out, but if you hit something just right, you will shatter it. They're not quite as soft as HQ props. They're, you know, they're but I like the props, man. They're very precise. I mean, wherever you point the quad, it goes. I flew on 4S, and it's a little weak. It's really flyable though. I enjoyed it. I can fly it all day on 4S and get good flight times. The motors never even start to get warm. It seems like I have more control with 4S on it, even though it's meant for 6S. Even though it's a little underpowered. I'm still able to fly around great, but man, when I put 6S on it, when I put this big ass battery here on it, I'm not used to 6S, and it's just a little too much power for me. I have trouble keeping the quad down. I like to fly real low to the ground, do tricks real low to the ground, and it's kind of hard to do when you got so much power. It's always trying to pull up on you. I'll get used to it eventually, but I like it a lot. I like it so much I want to switch my other quad over to a 6S. So MEPS, if you're listening, I could use another set of these MEPS 2207 motors, but I want the next size up in kV on them. I want the 1900 kVs. I don't care what color, preferably blue, but I don't really care what color. But yeah, guys, this is awesome. You've seen I've done a lot of crashing. Took off upside down in the grass, turtle moted, crashed into the tree, fell out of the sky, done a bunch of shit. The ESC held up fine. The flight controller held up fine. There was one time after a crash where I had to reset the flight controller. I had to unplug the battery and replug the battery back in, but other than that, I didn't have any problems at all. It does great. I can't say enough good things about this, guys. This MEPS King parts are awesome parts. These motors are still smooth as silk. And now these are not high pitched props, guys, but they did 3D very well. I mean, I was really surprised. But they got lots of control, and you know my Tanq held up well because hell, it's got 10mm arms. It's almost impossible to break. But you can't go wrong with MEPS parts, guys. Get you a quad, get you a frame, get you a bunch of MEPS parts, build that sucker out, and you will be very, very happy. And I tell you another thing, it's real easy to forget that you're flying 6S and overrun the battery down. I did that once. I ran it a little too low because I'd just been flying 4S and switched to 6S, and I forgot. It's easy to do. I'm going to set me a buzzer or something on my radio to remind me what I'm flying. But everything held up well, guys. I had one foot here to come off when I was flying because after I had a crash, I hit a tree, just right knocked it off, but I'll put it back on, no problem. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this long ass review, and hope you learned something. And I hope you go out and get you a bunch of MEPS parts and build you a quad. Even if you don't use MEPS parts, guys, build you a quad. Get out there and fly. Have some fun. Alright, y'all guys have a great evening.